Welcome to The Explainer. If you're a project controls apprentice, you've definitely heard of K5, the technical stuff. And let's be honest, it can feel like this huge, intimidating barrier. Well, today, we're gonna smash through that barrier. We'll use a story to break it all down and show you how to go from totally confused to completely confident in your role. All right, let's get into it. We're gonna follow an apprentice, her name's Jody, and we'll track her journey through 5 key stages. We're gonna start with her big problem, watch as she cracks the code, see how she builds her skills, prove she's got it down, and finally how she completely nails her final assessment. So let's meet Jody. She's a really sharp level 6 apprentice working at a company called Ibis Stores. But one morning, her manager, Riddle, comes over and plunks this massive binder full of technical documents on her desk. It's all engineering drawings, specs, the whole shebang, and Jody just feels lost. And this, right here, is the absolute heart of the problem. Jody is asking the perfect question. How can you possibly control a project if you don't really get what's being built? This gap, this space between the project plan and the nitty-gritty technical reality, well, that's exactly what Key 5 is all about. So, before we can help Jody, we have to get really clear on what this K5 competency actually means. What is it we're even talking about here? Okay, so that's the official definition. A bit of a mouthful, right? Let's just cut through the jargon. K5 doesn't mean you need to become an engineer overnight. Not at all. It's about learning to speak their language. It's about looking at their plans and drawings and being able to translate what you see into what it means for the schedule, the budget, and the project's risk. And make no mistake, this is absolutely crucial. Without this skill, you're basically just managing numbers in a spreadsheet, totally disconnected from the real work happening on the ground. When you get a handle on K5, your estimates get better, you spot risks way earlier, and you build massive credibility with the technical teams. They start seeing you as a real partner. So, as you can imagine, Jody's feeling pretty swamped. She decides to talk to her mentor, Adam. And Adam, who's a fantastic mentor, doesn't just throw a textbook at her. Instead, he gives her a whole new way to think about the problem. He shares this brilliant analogy. He says, Jody, stop thinking you need to be the engineer. I want you to picture a busy restaurant kitchen. You're not the chef creating the dishes, you are the kitchen manager. And just look at how neatly this all maps out. It makes so much sense. The chef, that's your engineer, the one who comes up with the brilliant design. The recipe, those are all your technical documents. The ingredients are your budget and resources. The cooking time is your schedule. And your role, the most important one for us, you are the kitchen manager, making sure it all happens smoothly. So here's the absolute bottom line. As the kitchen manager, you don't need to invent the recipe from scratch, but you have to be able to read it. You need to understand it well enough to ask smart questions, to challenge things, to say, hey, are we sure we have enough time for this step, or do we have all the right ingredients? That is what level 6K5 is all about. So, with this new kitchen analogy in her head, Jody feels a huge weight lift. She's not scared anymore, she's energized. She goes to her apprenticeship coach, Olivia, and together they work out a practical, step-by-step plan to build these skills. And this is the framework they create. It's a clear path forward that you can follow too. See, it's not one giant leap, it's 4 logical steps. You start by building a basic awareness. Then you learn how to actually interpret the documents. Then you apply what you've learned to your day job. And finally, you build that expert judgment to know when to raise your hand and ask a question. And this has to be practical, right? It can't just be theory. So for Jody, this meant she literally pulled up a chair next to the IBIS engineers and asked them to walk her through the whole process. And then, crucially, she took that new knowledge and immediately applied it to her very next task, a schedule review, where she spotted things she would have totally missed before. Okay, so Jody's building the skill, which is awesome. But, and this is a huge but for anyone on a level 6 apprenticeship, just knowing it isn't enough. You have to prove it. She needs to create solid evidence for her portfolio in the Aptum system. So what are the assessors actually looking for? Well, they don't want an essay about engineering. They want to see the real stuff you've worked on. Things like a scope of work that you've literally marked up with your questions and comments, or a report you wrote analyzing the impact of a design change. Now pay close attention to this because this is so important. Good evidence, that's just uploading the document. It shows you saw it, but great level 6 evidence, that's uploading the same document, but it's covered in your notes, and it comes with a short summary explaining what you found, how you interpreted it, and the impact it had on the project. That's the difference.
And this is exactly what her coach, Olivia, tells her. The reflection is everything. It's the story behind the document. You're explaining, here's what I reviewed, here's what it actually meant for the project, and here's the action I took because of it. That right there is you demonstrating professional judgment. All right, we're on the home stretch now. Jody has the skills, she's gathered her evidence, and now it's time to prepare for the final boss, the endpoint assessment, or EPA. This is where she'll have a professional discussion with an independent assessor who's going to question her directly on K5. Let's do a quick practice run. Imagine you're in that discussion and the assessor asks you, so what are the risks if the technical scope is misunderstood? What would you say? Just take a second to think about it. And here's how a now confident Jody answers. It's a fantastic response. Why? Because it's specific. She connects the problem, misunderstanding scope, directly to the core functions of project controls: bad estimates, schedule delays, and scope creep. She shows she gets the cause and effect. Okay, let's try another one. This is a very common type of question. They're not asking for a definition, they're asking for a real-world story. They want an example from your own experience. And this is a distinction-level answer. It's perfect. You know why? It uses the classic STAR method. She explains the situation, the task she had, the action she took, and the result. She doesn't just say what she did, she explains the positive impact her action had. That's how you prove your competence. So, of course, Jody passed her EPA with flying colors. She went on this incredible journey from being terrified of technical documents to using them as one of her most powerful tools. She learned that K5 was never a barrier to keep her out. It was actually a bridge connecting her work directly to the very heart of the project. So, what's the big takeaway for you from all this? It's to change your mindset, just like Jody did. Stop seeing those technical documents as some scary foreign language. Start seeing them as the project's recipe. So I'll leave you with this question. What's the first recipe on your desk that you're going to pick up and really start to interpret?